The badge reader chirps at 6:42 a.m., and the glass doors swallow you into a lobby that smells like espresso and new carpet. A wall monitor scrolls signups, incidents, competitive signals. Your laptop boots with a forced update and a quiet warning: activity is logged. You take your seat and start watching. This is your life, level by level, inside a Silicon Valley unicorn. Entry-level analyst. The innocence of data. You sit under fluorescent panels in an open-plan bullpen, between a snack wall and a row of phone booths nobody uses. Your day starts in Jira. Then the feeds, Reddit threads, GitHub commits, pastebin mirrors, domain registrations, App Store reviews. You tag, you dedup, you run the company's proprietary clustering tool and stare at a heat map until it looks like weather. A senior analyst hovers behind you during stand-up, correcting your language. Signal, not hunch. Confidence level, not feels like. Your work gets redlined in Google Docs, track changes like bruises. You tell yourself the volume is the job. You tell yourself the tools will catch what you miss. You tell yourself you're lucky to be here. You learn the first rule fast: if your report can't be reproduced, it doesn't exist. Screenshots, timestamps in UTC, hashes, source URLs, a tiny methodology box. The power is small: your name on a slide in a Friday deck, but the cost is constant surveillance of your own thinking. You thought you were hunting patterns, but mostly you're being trained to become one. Junior intelligence analyst. The bridge to creativity. Now you're in the rotation for real tickets. A vendor flags suspicious logins. Trust and safety wants context on a campaign. You open GIS layers, plot IP blocks, and watch clusters bloom around data centers in Ashburn and San Jose. You trigger a lightweight ML pipeline, then spend an hour explaining to legal why a model score isn't proof. Meetings multiply. Product wants faster signups. Security wants stricter friction. Sales wants no scary language. You carry your laptop from building B to building D like a tray of glass. You tell yourself you're just connecting dots. You tell yourself you're protecting users. You tell yourself nobody gets hurt by a spreadsheet. Then you see the reach. A single assessment can change a launch country list. It can justify a new KYC step. It can quietly expand what gets collected: device fingerprints, behavioral telemetry, add IDs because the dashboard makes it look clean. Your burden is learning where possible ends and appropriate begins, without anyone drawing the line for you. The data stops feeling neutral the moment it starts answering questions you didn't mean to ask. Senior intelligence analyst. The invisible puppeteer. You run your own projects now. No training wheels. You build a 6-week tracking plan, assign collection tasks, and keep a private spreadsheet of who actually delivers. You mentor juniors on write-ups, on sourcing, on how to survive a hostile Q&A with the VP of product. Your calendar is a wall of 30-minute blocks and quick syncs that last an hour. Access expands. Internal abuse logs. Fraud rings with known handles. Partner intel under NDA. You can see how decisions get made not in the all hands, but in a 3-person Slack thread at 11:18 p.m. You tell yourself influence is responsibility. You tell yourself you can steer it gently. You tell yourself you're the adult in the room. But politics becomes part of the methodology. Which metric gets highlighted? Which incident becomes anomaly versus trend? You start writing 2 versions of the truth. The full one, and the one that survives exec attention span. Burnout shows up as physical artifacts: cold coffee, a standing desk you never raise, a suitcase half-packed for a red-eye to DC. You don't pull strings with your hands, you pull them with slides, and the puppets never see your face. You've learned to collect, then to interpret, then to influence. Next, you are handed people, deadlines, headcount fights, and a machine that won't stop once you start it. Lead analyst. You stop being the best and start being responsible for the best. Headcount becomes your new dataset. 2 juniors, 1 contractor, and a shared on-call calendar that never really empties. You write weekly priorities on a whiteboard that smears under your palm. You run Monday triage. Trust escalation, security incident, CEO asked, competitive brief. Your Slack has 3 channels muted and 1 you can't mute: #exec-urgent. You review work instead of producing it. You rewrite hypotheses, tighten language, strip adjectives, add timestamps. You sit in a windowless conference room with facilities humming through the wall while HR explains leveling guidelines. You tell yourself coaching is leverage. You tell yourself process prevents mistakes. You tell yourself you can shield your team from the noise. The power is allocation. You decide what becomes a project and what becomes a quick look. You decide who presents and who stays silent. You learn to say, not enough confidence, when legal wants certainty and product wants speed. Every choice becomes a quiet bet placed with someone else's reputation. You don't just track threats anymore, you triage humans like tickets, and the queue always wins. Director of Intelligence. You translate chaos into budgets and risk posture. Your mornings start with a staff sync and end with an exec readout. You carry a single notebook because your brain can't hold every thread. Fraud KPIs, vendor renewals, law enforcement inbound, a new market launch in Sao Paulo, a journalist emailing comms. The team sits across time zones, now Austin, Dublin, Singapore, and you learn the sound of bad news from a 3-second pause on Zoom. You don't write the reports, you sign your name to them. You negotiate for tools recorded future, Datadog seats, a new Snowflake warehouse, and you justify it with numbers that can survive finance. You tell yourself strategy is clarity. You tell yourself the org needs one voice. You tell yourself scale demands distance. Your burden is political physics. One sentence in an exec summary can trigger a policy change, a product kill switch, a hiring freeze, or a quiet expansion of monitoring. You learn to pre-brief. The GC first, then the CISO, then the VP who will hear it wrong. At this altitude, truth isn't what you know, it's what you can get approved to say. Chief Intelligence Officer. You become the company's institutional paranoia, formalized. The calendar looks clean until you zoom out and see the blocks. Board prep, M&A diligence, crisis tabletop, sensitive discussion, with no notes allowed. You sit in a glass office that never feels private because the hallway reflections move like ghosts. An assistant pings you with a folder. Quarterly risk memo, red team findings, a competitor's acquisition rumor sourced to a banker in Menlo Park. You speak in constraints now. What can be launched? Where you will not store data? Which partnerships will not happen? You brief the CEO in a 2-minute walk between meetings, and you brief the board in 12 slides that have to be defensible in discovery. You tell yourself authority creates protection. You tell yourself you can steer the ship. You tell yourself being calm is the job. The power is direction, and the cost is ownership. When something breaks, an insider leak, a coordinated abuse spike, a subpoena with a 10-day clock, it lands on your desk like a weight that doesn't move. Your signature becomes a boundary the company hides behind. You reach the top and find the view is just a wider surveillance camera pointed back at you. There's no final dashboard that tells you you're done. The company grows up around you, new products, new markets, new reasons to watch, and your titles climb the same way. Quietly, permanently. You learn to live inside uncertainty with clean formatting and calm language. And even at the highest level, the hardest signal to interpret is the one you generate yourself.